Dark Harvest, the Scarecrow movie we've been waiting for.
Old Sawtooth Jack is gonna rise from the cornfields. It's gotta be stopped. Kill or be killed.
Back again with another movie review, and if you click the thumbnail, hopefully you've either seen or you're interested in checking out the movie Dark Harvest that just came out not that long ago, and this is by far one of the biggest shocking movies to me of the year. Not in the fact that I was shocked of what happened. Well, yeah, okay, I was a little bit, but just the fact of the quality of this movie and how it was made, the look of it, everything that goes into it, the story that's behind it, it's so deep in a lot of spots, very, very violent, which is awesome for this type of movie. And I really dug most of the characters. I mean, this was a very, very well-made movie. This one, again, we've had a couple sleeper hits here, for me at least, this year in 2023 with, No One Will Save You, which was that Hulu movie that I really, really liked. This one's very similar as far as the quality of what's being made. I think it's got a little bit bigger budget than the other one, although, honestly, the CGI was really good on both of them. But what I'm really kind of getting at is it's lesser known actors. Like, I don't think I really knew anybody in this movie. The dialogue is good. The cinematography is fantastic. The setting, like everything. It's just really, really good. Like, this one's ranking really high on my list of movies this year so far. But if you're unfamiliar, basically the movie is about a small Midwestern town where there's an annual ritual that unfolds where the teenage boys are basically pitted against a legendary mythical creature, Sawtooth Jack, that arises from the crops, and they must kill it before it reaches the town's church at midnight on Halloween, I believe. And as kind of basic of a story as that sounds, it is so cool. There's so much to it, and how the storytelling is done here is fantastic. Some of the stuff that I really appreciate about this movie are, one, it just puts you right into it immediately. Like, the movie starts and you're into the hunt, so to speak, or the run is what they call it in this one, when the boys go out and fight the evil that's stalking the town. Stalking, because it's a scarecrow. Anyway, and you quickly realize that this is not one of those stories where, you're not really going to see anything and you're not going to be sure if there's actually a monster or if it's like people. Like, you find out really quickly that there's something going on and that it's not messing around, and that this movie is also definitely very, very rated R, because it gets violent in spurts when it needs to be. But I mean, the violence is not over the top, in my opinion, as far as it's not like Saw or like Hostel or any of those ones that are, more torture-y kind of stuff. These ones are pretty swift, violent, and impactful, shall we say. There's a couple I was just like, whoa, cool. And they look good too. But the setting is what's so cool about this one to me, and the acting. The setting, it's in the 1960s, early to mid-60s. I think it takes place over the span of like a year and a half, something in that range. And there's something so comforting almost about going back in time a bit to where things were, again, so much more simple. I mean, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have all the technology that we have. Simpler, but also there's a lot more questions. Like, everybody that's in this town basically never leaves this town. And there's a lot of ambiguity around the story. Like, I can see why this is based off of either a book or a series of books. I'm not sure, because I feel like there's a whole lot of lore that's yet to be explored here, if they explore it at all, or if they just leave it open-ended. But like I was saying, basically there's a farming community that's kind of just in its own little world where it survives and propagates based off of what happens at this ritual. It's one of those things. It's very much so, in my mind, kind of like and hopefully no real spoilers here. I mean, I might talk about spoilers at the end, but I'll let you know for sure. Most of this you should probably see from the trailers if you watch that. But it's much like if you've seen a lot of different supernatural things and stuff like that. There's different rituals that people throughout history have done to, ensure good crops. And that's basically what this is, to propagate the future of their farm and everything like that, or farms in this case. They do this ritual, and it's pretty violent and pretty over the top as far as what they do to get ready for it. But again, it's so cool. It's like you're put right in the middle of it at the get-go at one of the rituals, the run, and you see how that one ends, and then you kind of get set up for the next year. And what happens in this one, there's some very interesting rules. Again, I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but basically, if you do win, if you're the teenage boy that does win, your family's set up. You get a new house, you get all money, you get a car, like you get to move to the nice side of town, so to speak. But there's a lot of things that are just kind of a little bit off in the whole town. I mean, clearly things are going like this, but you get thrown in, the police officer, the sheriff, whatever he is, he kind of lays the rules down for the boys of what's going to happen, and that's kind of telling it to us as well. And it's so interesting because at the beginning, you're just like, you have no idea what's going on. Like, you literally get thrust into the run, you see all this stuff happening, and you're like, I don't know what's happening. And then slowly you figure out what's been going on. And it's so interesting, just the little details, like, you know, they tell them the story.
You've all heard the stories. We failed at our duties, and that black dust destroyed our crops, our lives. It must die, so we can live.
And some of the boys aren't sure if this is actually real or if it's the townspeople kind of messing with them as a rite of passage. But then you have some people that say, you know, I've seen this when I was young. I wasn't supposed to look, but I did, and I saw it. So there's a lot of, you know, little stuff going on like that that's really, really cool. But then to really get them ravenous and really kill worthy, they lock all the boys up for like 3 days prior to the run with no food, isolation, no water, I mean, no bathrooms. It's pretty like barbaric just to get them basically animalistic and ready to actually kill and do what they need to do, so to speak, in this case. And it's just such a cool story. It really is. And the characters are so cool. Again, I don't know any of the actors. I know the main actor, Casey Likes, just from looking him up, and he was awesome. I think, again, I'm a little biased because I really enjoy movies about like greasers and socias. You know, like if you've seen The Outsiders and stuff like that, I grew up watching a lot of those movies, so that kind of touches something deep down in me. But he was so reminiscent to me of like Ponyboy from Outsiders. I mean, he was kind of the, you know, the ringleader, so to speak, of some of the Misfit boys. And there's also some really cool references to Misfits, the band, in this one too, if you're a fan. So you get to check that out, specifically The Mask. It's awesome. But they're all actually, the cool thing to me is they kind of seem like they're at least closer to the age that they're really meant to be, not like 30-year-olds playing teenagers. Like, these may be like early 20s, maybe late teens, but they're, you know, close to the age, and you can tell. But they're good and they're quality. But the acting does not slow this or hold this back by any means. If anything, it does propel it. The adults that are in this one, they do it really well. I mean, they act
Your
strange in
sacred
certain
duty
parts, and then you start to realize
is to
why a
take
little
down
bit more.
Sawtooth Jack before
The
that.
cinematography and how this shot, that's the piece de resistance to me. I mean, this one looks like it was made and filmed in the 60s, and maybe not filmed just because it looks so crystal clear, but you know what I mean. It looks really cool, but it's so dark, but you can still see everything. Like, how they had to do lighting on this one is going to be baffling to me, but it reminds me of movies like Sicario and some of the other ones where they did shoot in a whole bunch of low light settings, but you're still able to see everything. So whoever did that, they did a fantastic job, and it was really cool, very creepy. Like I said, there's some very violent moments that happen in this one that are somewhat shocking, but it's also awesome at the same time. The CGI looked really good. I think there was really only a time, once or twice, when I seen it, I was like, that one looked a little funky, but it didn't really take me out of the movie at all. And then the actual special effects that they do show, and the lore and everything, the story is just so cool. Without spoiling anything about the actual end, it has a very interesting ending, which I wasn't sure how they were going to end it, because again, and if you've watched any sort of horror movie or movies in general, the third act or the finale is definitely the hardest part, I think, specifically for horror movies, because you can have such cool lore, but how do you bring something to a close? And I think they did it really well. It's a little open for interpretation as far as exactly what happens at the end, but I dug it. I dug it a lot, and I will absolutely rewatch this one. That's one that, like, you're sucked into the world. I mean, it's a hard movie. Like, it's very stressful, but at the same time, it's just, this is like the horror movies that I really like watching. And I will say, like I said at the beginning, this is probably by far the best, not even probably, this is the best Scarecrow kind of movie that we have out there, horror movie wise. I mean, some people might say The Wizard of Oz. I am not going to say that is a better Scarecrow movie than this. This is by far the best Scarecrow movie. Granted, the only real Scarecrow movies I've seen are like Scarecrow, which was a really crappy, I think, like 90s movies. I think they had like several of those, but those are okay. I mean, I guess there is a Scarecrow in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is a cool one as well, but this one's the main antagonist, so I'm definitely going to chalk this one up as the best of that. So if you haven't seen this one, I would suggest highly to go watch this one. I mean, on a scale out of 1 to 10, just off of initial viewing and my thoughts and how much I thought about it afterwards, I'm going to give it a 9. Like, this is sitting at a 9 right now. This is really high. This is in my top movies of the year thus far. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. If you're interested at all, I would just say give it a watch. It's not super long. It's like 90 minutes. So, I mean, it rolls pretty quickly. This is just a fantastic movie. Please, please, please go see it. I remember watching the trailer, and I don't even remember seeing that it came out in the theater. So I kind of missed it in the theaters. I wish I would have seen it in the theaters because it would have looked even better. But do go check it out. I think it's on most streaming services, so we can get more cool movies like this. I'm not sure if there's a series of books that this is based off of that it's going to continue on or not, but even if it's a standalone, it's awesome. I'm definitely going to revisit that one, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Go hit that subscribe button if you would. That'd be fantastic. And as always, you're awesome. Peace out.